In tonight's episode, we go camping once again. What are the shadows that call to us from beyond the trees? The screams that we hear in the night. Oh boy. Tonight we explore 3 chilling accounts. A family's terrifying encounter with an uninvited presence. A camping trip that descends into horror and possibly a Bigfoot. And then a hunter's fateful encounter with a creature that was not a deer. So dim the lights, check your locks, and brace yourself as we uncover mysteries that haunt the edges of reality. And tonight's Ghosted in West Virginia, where some secrets are better left in the dark. Good evening, obsessors, oppressors, and possessors. It is I, your handsome, humble, and wearing a hat my son made me host, Alec McCann, and with me as always,
Julia.
And we are back. Now, last time we talked about Dale Scott, but I don't have part 2 ready. Also, I am sorry for the quality of that video. We worked really hard on trying to get that perfect, and it just did not pan out. So we are sorry. Won't happen again. We are going to give you the second part of our campfire stories that we told before the Dale Scott episode.
Yay.
Julia wrote this one up, so what are we expected to find in this second one?
I don't even know because I'm on part 4 now.
Well, we've gone far into the thing.
I'm not sure
All
exactly.
Right. But we are back with it. So, round of applause for Julia. She did it. Now, as we said in part 1, these stories are not proven. The stories have been collected from various sources, namely the book Creepy Campfire Stories. And so we need to be mindful of triggers. You know, there might be some talks of suicide, some violence, other adult themes.
Which I haven't really come across any, and I'm on part 4. So.
Somebody's going to be sucking somewhere.
Or maybe I just am not triggered.
Well, you're hardly ever. Oh no, she hit the mic! So, either way, going forward, use some discretion. You know, like Law and Order says, viewer discretion advised. Boom, boom. So last time we left off on the spooky folklore of Looney's Bridge. And this time, we are starting with the spirit of HogPen Branch. Bobby Willie?
I do actually kind of remember this one.
Okay.
Now.
Alright. Well, what's fun about you is that you don't remember certain things, so you're hearing the story for the first time.
That's true. It's like I have short-term memory loss.
Yes, well you do. Like a fish. Dory, no!
When I moved to Winchester for like 6 months, I had to use GPS to get home from work.
For 6 months?
Yeah, because I couldn't find it.
He's so cute.
I kept getting confused.
So what starts as a strange noise and unexplained sightings quickly escalates into a heart-stopping confrontation inside the house of an amateur golfer, disrupting his and his family's peaceful suburban life.
What a shame.
One summer, my wife, Sarah, took our 2 daughters out for a girls' night. Being the 6-year-olds they were, they rubbed it in my face, and I went along with it and acted like I was super jealous, even though I was excited to have the house to myself for the night. I get that, dude. Get that. Now, I decided to go golfing before sundown. to get to the greens, I had to drive down the street and go through a little alley between two houses. It's a short drive to the cart path, which had a little bridge running over the creek called HogPen Branch. And this is where I had my first occurrence. Now, as I was going over the bridge, I heard a splash. I looked over the edge, and to my surprise, I didn't see a thing. Unlock the creek further upstream. Unlock? Oh, okay. Unlike the creek further upstream, it was fairly clear here. Now, I dismissed the noise and continued on my way. I had golfed for a few hours before it got too dark. I packed my clubs and then began to drive home. The pathway was long and it took me a good 5 minutes. I was starving and planned on cooking burgers later that night. That seems unnecessary to tell me.
Yeah,
as I was driving along, I stopped to collect some balls I saw along the way. As I bent over to pick them up, some random person came up and poked me in the butt. I turned around, there's my wife. No, I'm joking. That's if I was picking up the balls. She would appear out of nowhere.
Nope.
Like a ninja, a butt-poking ninja. But anyway, as I bent over to pick them up, a loud shriek sent a chill down my spine.
I don't even know where you're at. I can't.
I'm right here.
Oh.
I glanced in the direction of the noise and saw nothing except trees and the bridge in the distance. Now I jumped in my cart, sped to the bridge. There was nothing there. I thought it was odd, but I dismissed it again. Typical man. I drove home and cleaned up. By the time I was ready to cook my burgers, it was dark out. I cleaned the grill, threw on some meat, and relaxed. I stood up to walk over and flip my burgers, and I heard the screech again. I jumped, my heart racing. I flipped the patties. That's a man right there. Flip them. I am not having these burgers go bad on this grill. I am the grill master. So he flipped the burgers. That cracks me up. And then went inside. My table faced the window and I stared out into the dark yard while I ate. I saw nothing as I ate my burgers in silence. My family arrived, came inside, and their voices were echoing through the quiet house. Exhausted from their night out, the kids came over to me, gave me a hug, and went upstairs to get ready for bed. I sat at the table thinking I probably looked so creepy as I'm glaring out the window.
Of course.
And then my thoughts were confirmed when Sarah asked, what's wrong? I keep hearing things, but I'm not sure what. And that makes it even better. You're staring out the dark window in a dark house, and you tell your wife, I've been hearing things. Bro, keep it in. Keep it in. Now, Sarah asked what it sounded like, and I told her it sounded like a fox or a scream. But when I looked, nothing was there, and she looked at me and just simply said, weird. Well, we sat there for a moment before we heard one of our daughters say, Dad, why is Mimi in our yard? Oh, I'm sorry. Mimi was our neighbor, whom the girls thought of as their grandma.
No, Mimi.
What? My wife said quietly. We looked toward the yard and saw an elderly woman standing by the creek. The lights hardly illuminated her, but from what we could see, it was her. I threw on my sandals, manly, and went outside. Hello, Mary. Are you okay? Do you need anything? None of my questions were answered. The woman just stood there, her back towards me, staring into the water. As I got closer, I noticed an awful stench coming from her. She smelled like stagnant water. I went to our neighbor's, Bob, and I rang the doorbell and he answered immediately. He seemed excited that I was over, even though it was late. He asked if I wanted anything and said Mary could get it. Mary then peeked her head around the corner of the kitchen. Surprised to see her, I asked, Hey Mary, what were you looking for outside? It doesn't say he goes back into his house or anything, so he goes to Mary's husband's house?
Yes.
And doesn't think, hey, how did you get here? already.
Yeah, if you would
Oh,
continue
I'm sorry.
reading.
Sorry. My first question wouldn't be, what were you looking for outside? My first question would be, how did you get here? That would be my first question. Not, what were you, I wouldn't even, my first thing would be, you were just standing by the river. Are you a superhero?
How'd you get here so fast?
Can you tell me how to do that? Surprised to see her, I asked, hey Mary, what were you looking for outside? Excuse me? She asked. I explained that she was just in our backyard, and the couple fell silent and looked at each other, faces etched with concern. So you saw her? Bob asked, his voice barely above a whisper. I told him yes, and that I wasn't mad. I just wanted to know if she needed help or had dropped something in the creek so I could help her get it. Mary said, no, honey, that wasn't me. But we know exactly who you're talking about. We call her Margaret. We see her every now and then, her voice quivering. I asked who she was, starting to feel chills. It's not okay. That's what we're trying to find out ourselves. We do know that she's not kind. One time, Bob went out to ask her who she was, and she just screamed in his face. He fell over, and when he looked back, she was gone. And
Must have been some kind of scream.
right?
For him to just fall over.
Bob asked in an urgent tone, where are the kids? I replied that they were in the house, and Mary told me I needed to get home right away. I didn't even question it. I bolted out the door. I ran to our house, and when I burst through the front door, it was too quiet. One horrifying detail I noticed was that the back door was open. I screamed out for Sarah, and nobody answered. I sprinted up to my daughter's room, where I found all three of them huddled in a closet crying, and Sarah told me the lady was in the house, and it's not Mary. So I would already be like, we're packing our things. This is just what we're doing. We're packing our things. So she said, it's not Mary. Now I had to do something. So I grabbed my daughter's softball bat, good man, and walked out of the room. Aren't softball bats longer than regular bats?
I'm not sure.
He wouldn't have to get terribly close if they are.
But his children are 6, so I can't imagine their bats are very big. They're probably like T-ball bats.
Oh, probably so. I rounded the corner and looked down the stairs, and there on the third step was the woman, and she was staring at me. Her dress was dark, dirty gray. Her hair, black, dripping wet, and her eyes were black. Her mouth was set in a rigid line. I stood there, frozen in fear. I couldn't do anything. She slowly backed down the stairs and out of view. Backwards? That's creepy. That's creepy.
Right?
I don't know why the image of someone seeing you and just backing down the stairs while staring at you is eerie to me, but that's eerie. Like, it'd be like if it was a robber and they were backing up. I'd be like, I'm not moving until you do get out of this house. You're gonna think I'm a statue. Mannequin time!
Right?
Now, my mind was racing after a few minutes because I heard the back door shut with a soft click. Who was that? Why had she come into my house? And I never believed until the paranormal, but I had never believed until the paranormal. I had never believed in the paranormal, but had I just seen a ghost? I remembered my family was waiting for me to return, and I ran back to the closer, or the closet, and embraced them. I told the girls, it's okay, it was just Mimi, but I gave my wife a look, and she went along with it. We sat there until everyone's fear subsided and the girls were sleepy again. We asked them if they wanted to go to sleep at Mimi and Bob's that night, and they excitedly said yes. Okay, so Mimi just terrified them.
But they went to her house.
And they were like, we need to go to Nini's. We're going to Nini's. Ha 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 ha. So anyway, I said that already. We packed small bags. I double checked every single lock in the house and made sure that the lady was gone. And she was gone, but the water droplets weren't. We ran quickly to their house, terrified of what we might see outside. My daughter asked Mary what she was doing at our house, and we gave her a look, letting her know that she needed to lie to them. And she told me, she told them she was looking for sugar and had made cookies, and they were in the kitchen. Then we told Mary and Bob the story, and they were shocked. They had seen the woman several times before, but never thought she would go into anyone's house. That night, the girls fell asleep quickly on the living room floor. However, the 4 adults didn't sleep a wink. We talked about our experiences, including what I had seen at the bottom of the stairs. I also told Mary and Bob about what happened to me earlier that day. We tried to find information about it online, but there was nothing. And the next day, we took a trip to the public library and asked if we could research old documents. Now, we got permission, spent all day going through files, and eventually, my wife found a paper from the year 1907. The article she pointed out reported that a woman in town had been found dead in the creek. The article had very little detail and didn't specify who the woman was or which creek she was found in. However, we allowed ourselves to believe that it was the woman we had encountered. After that night, we lived in constant fear. My job eventually caused us to move to Georgia, which,
probably like, thank God.
Depending. I mean, remember we did that story about the man that haunts underneath the ground and hung those people?
Yeah.
So depending on where he lives, might be all right. Where my wife and I live now, our daughters are both in college now and have no idea what actually happened that night. As for Bob and Mary, they lived in that house until a year ago when they moved to a different city. They told us they saw Margaret a couple of times since the incident. We can only hope that the woman in the creek is at rest now and will not terrorize anyone else who lives there. Remember, even in a gated community, there's no guarantee you're safe from things that go bump in the night or leave puddles on your floor. Double check the locks and leave out a plate of cookies just in case. It's not Santa Claus. Also,
But remember, he said she was getting sugar to make cookies.
well, no, I know that. I know, but that's just the lie that they... I just want to say, you can't... I know you hope that she's at rest, but if she was messing with Bob and Mary before you got there, she's going to be messing with people long after you guys are there, unless Bob and Mary somehow...
Put her to rest.
Right. Salt her bones and burn them. That's what Supernatural says. Story number 2.
Oh.
Now, when camping becomes a nightmare, one beautiful summer evening, my wife...
Skipped a period.
Oh.
You read it as a run-on.
I'm sorry. The title is When Camping Becomes a Nightmare. Sorry. Now, one beautiful evening, summer evening, my wife, Vicky, myself, and our 2 kids, James and Sheena. Okay, first of all, Sheena. That's an 80s and 90s name. You don't see too many Sheenas today. At least not me.
I know 2.
Alright, well, there you go. James and Sheena were off on a family camping trip. We packed the truck with food, beer, camping chairs, and toys for the kids. It's always a good idea to have beer when you're going into the woods. We headed toward...
With children.
Right. This has got to be the 80s. We headed toward... You Canadians and your names, man.
Just some lake in Canada.
Nanaimo Lakes on Vancouver Island, Canada. Then continued past the lakes along a very long, rough logging road. The truck bounced and jostled as we traveled slowly inland for about 30 minutes. We encountered a forest ranger who wanted to do a weapons check, and we were fine as we only had an axe for cutting firewood and taking down large bears. Oh. He told us about a very private campsite not too far away. It only had 2 sites, an outhouse, and was situated on a small lake. And we soon found the overgrown old logging road that led us to the lake, and it was perfect. There was an old but clean and serviced outhouse, 2 picnic tables, a couple of tractor rims for fire pits, a cute little lake, which we discovered was an inlet for a larger one. The only negative thing was the beach and campsites were covered in fine gravel. Okay, I get that. That's not comfortable to go out on.
Yeah.
We unloaded the trucks and set up the tent, one for us and one for the children, who would probably end up sleeping in our tent before the night was over anyway. Vicky then prepared dinner while I split wood and got a fire going. And we had a wonderful dinner, played in the lake for almost an hour. Canadians are different because I know it can't be that warm there. Like the further north you go.
I have a few people on my Facebook from Canada, and it gets pretty hot up there.
Does
in
it?
the summertime, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well,
I don't know if it's like the humid hot that it gets here,
probably not.
but to them it's very hot.
Okay, I got you. Played in the lake for almost an hour. We played board games, roasted marshmallows, tucked the kids into bed. Wasn't long before the kids moved into our tent, and we drifted off to sleep. I was awakened around 2 a.m. by a loud splash. Now thinking it might be a bear, I grabbed my axe and quietly placed myself beside the tent flap just enough to peer through. And I could see something moving through the water. It didn't sound like swimming, it was more like walking. The sounds grew louder, but it had gotten so cloudy I could not see anything, plus it's 2 a.m.
Right?
It came out of the water, footsteps crunching the gravel. I still couldn't see anything, but it was bipedal. I was about to climb out of the tent when there was a break in the cloud cover, and I could just make out the silhouettes of a picnic table and chairs. Walking up to the picnic table was what looked like the largest man I had ever seen. More than 5 feet. More than 7 feet tall with a huge chest, arms, and thighs. This thing made my 6-foot self look like a child. It easily outweighed me by 300 pounds. And it started rummaging through items on our picnic table.
Wow.
Jacob just hurt himself.
You okay?
It started rummaging through items on our picnic table. Its hands were enormous. The campsite began to brighten a little more, and I knew for sure that this thing was not human. It was covered in hair, and this was no bear either. I waited quietly by the tent flap, crouched, ready to attack. Once it was finished rummaging through the table, it moved to the coolers, flipping them over, dumping out the beer. I heard Vicky sigh.
Rude.
Right? He's like, "Ugh, take this beer out of here. I don't like me. Ain't got no Mountain Dew." I heard Vicky sigh. I turned and covered her mouth to keep her silent. And then she joined me to look out the flap. She sighs and he's like, "No, shut up." Like, come on, dude. She sighed. It's all right. It's all right. You don't think she's gonna freak out having a mouth cover her in her sleep? Or having a hand cover her? That's how he does it. He just starts, "No, stop." She said, "Oh, goodness. Stop being a high schooler. The kids are here." I turned and covered her mouth, and she joined me to look at the flap. Or look out the flap. The creature was staring at the tent. And it took a few steps, sniffed the air, and we didn't move. One more step brought it right to the tent. As it rummaged around, pressing its huge hand against the tent here and there, I tried to silently unzip the flap. I was so focused on the zipper that I lost track of the creature. Vicky leaned in and said, "It's leaving." And I stopped what I was doing and listened. I could hear the footsteps on the gravel and could tell it was walking away. But I stayed huddled in the tent until dawn. And when I slipped out to check the area... Oh, I'm sorry. He stood there till dawn and then slipped out to check the area once dawn hit. After a thorough search, I signaled Vicky, who dashed out of the tent and started tearing down the kids' tent while I cleaned up the picnic table area, throwing everything into the cooler. The next thing I knew, the two kids were standing there, still half asleep. We were cleaned up and loaded and headed back down the road within 20 minutes, the gravel crunching under our tires as we made our hasty retreat. There you go, Ellen. There's your Bigfoot.
All right.
Sasquatch to the Canadians.
I also put that in there for Oliver because that was right around the time that little boy at the soccer game told him Bigfoot wasn't real.
Oh. And you figure one day he'll go back and listen to this and hear Bigfoot?
Yep.
Oh, I gotcha. Now, when an experienced hunter takes an ill-advised shot at a mysterious buck, he finds himself plunged into a nightmarish ordeal that defies all explanation. Explanation? Explanation! New word. Alright, so I'm getting, what's that? What was the
Not a deer?
The place? The bad place? No. What was
The broken place.
The broken place. Yeah. Immediately. Weird
Yeah.
deer? Don't shoot weird deer. If you think something's wrong with the deer, don't touch it. Don't do anything. It sets off a bad precedent.
Yes, it does.
Now, the moon was full. Oh, sorry, were you saying something else?
No, it burped.
The moon was full, yet the dense canopy choked its light. Streams of silver. We're having an earthquake right now.
From the washing machine.
I know, but look, the computer is
Oh.
shaking like crazy. I'm gonna hold it, I guess. Streams of silver fought for every inch, peeking through the leaves. Sorry, the shaking is really upsetting my thought process. Here we go. Okay. Streams of silver. Streams of silver fought for every inch, peeking through the leaves. I wasn't lost, but I hadn't found what I was looking for yet either. That's like when
You lost.
That's like when my grandpa would say, "Did you lose it?" And my grandma would say, "No, I just don't know where I set it down."
Yeah.
That's called losing. You haven't found what you're looking for. You're lost until you find it. That's how it goes. Earlier that day, I shot a deer and it felt wrong. I don't know any other way to explain it. Just wrong. I had no luck sitting in my stand for hours, and then it walked out of the tree line. A huge buck. It strolled right to the center of the clearing, its head pivoting side to side and then looking straight at me. I lined up my crosshairs, and a voice in the back of my head said, "Don't do it." And I wondered why, but the voice kept insisting not to take the shot.
Just don't.
But I lined up my crosshairs again, the deer's unblinking, glassy black eyes just staring at me. I knew I shouldn't have pulled the trigger, but I did. And what I'm saying doesn't make any sense, but what I saw, it's what it did. It's what I saw is what I what? But it's what I saw, it's what I did. What? Okay. All right. It's what I saw, it's what I did. I shot that deer and it didn't budge. It took the bullet between the shoulder blades like a mosquito bite, and it flicked its ear like it's licked its nose and walked away, vanishing.
Like, it was so inconvenient
Right,
that
like,
it just got shot.
Come on, dude. I climbed down from the tree stand, went to the spot where I'd shot the deer. There was blood, but it wasn't bright. The wound I'd made was only minutes old, yet the blood on the ground was already clotted and dry. I followed the blood trail into the trees. The smell was horrible, like the stench of mud and rot. Something wasn't right, but I had to track it. My dad had instilled strong hunting ethics in me. Know your guns, shoot only when certain, and always track down wounded game. You threw the second rule out. You said your voice inside your back of your head kept saying, don't do it, which means you were uncertain about whether or not you should do it.
But he hit it in a good spot. That
But
would've killed it.
he was shoot only when certain, and that thing said, you're not certain, don't do it.
Shoot it.
But he was like, no, I'm going to shoot it. I'm going to shoot it right now. So, I can't explain why I felt the way I did. Watching it walk back into the woods just made my stomach drop. The forest has suddenly left the sentence that I was on. There we go. The forest around me was alive with the sounds of summer. These are all summer stories. See, I told you cold ain't time to camp.
Yes, it is.
Everything was in motion. I followed the blood trail, refusing to give up yet. I had to find it. But suddenly, the trail stopped at a base of a large tree. I turned on my flashlight, scanned the area, but there was nothing there. Then something thick and sticky landed on my forehead. Oh, gross! I reached up and touched it, and sure enough, it was blood. showed my light up at the tree, and there it was. I tried to rationalize with myself. Had something drug it up there? No, there wasn't enough blood, and there were no remains. Didn't he say it was up there? I showed my light up my tree, and there it was. Maybe he means the blood was just up there.
I don't know.
I decided to set up camp since the trail was dead and there was nothing left to track. I set up my tent, gathered some firewood for a fire beneath the tree. I tried to get rest, but sleep just would not come. Kept replaying the events from earlier in my head, and the more I thought about it, the less anything made sense. The more threatened I felt. I sat up, grabbed my weapon, and stoked my fire. I kept hearing the voice in my head telling me I shouldn't have shot that deer. But sitting by my fire, I remained at the ready, constantly scanning the area, listening to every sound the forest threw at me. The night was loud, the forest was alive with creatures, and then I heard a faint snapping sound. I turned and raised my gun toward the voice. Huh? Toward what voice?
That was supposed to be a noise.
Oh, towards the noise. The orange, I was like, he said it snapped.
Right?
So this faint snapping sound was, are you kidding me? This is what you did to me?
Yes.
I had to climb a tree to get away from you.
But you still found me.
The orange glow of my fire danced on the barrel of my gun. Motionless, I sat listening intently. Not just the crackling of the fire. I'm sorry. Nothing. Just the crackling of the fire. The night dragged on and I survived. As dawn broke, it was a welcome change from the heat that lay ahead. I packed my gear and prepared to head to the pickup location where I had agreed to meet with my friend. They'd be able to collect me for another, they wouldn't be able to collect me for another day or so, but at least I'd be ready. I squatted down to pick up my stuff. The swirling fog parted where the bag had been, revealing something I hadn't noticed. Tracks. And not just any tracks, deer tracks. Hundreds of them. The hoof prints struck deep into the damp soil, forming a perfect circle around my camp. Oh no!
Right?
This is one of us.
Also, it just occurred to me, it's summertime. Why is he hunting?
Maybe that's when they have deer season.
I don't know where they are in this story.
Maybe he's hunting illegally.
Maybe, but you want to hunt when it's hot outside. I know, like when he said the heat ahead or whatever in the day, like, don't even track that thing down because it's going to be rotten by the time you get to it.
Yeah, unless it's not dead. He said it just went off about its business. Like it was annoyed it had been shot at and hit. Ah! Jerk! Go him out. So, the hoof, this thing had circled me all night just beyond the light of my fire. Whoa. Surely I would have heard something. You did. It was a crack. I noticed that there were no tracks in or out. It was like the deer had materialized right beside the site and then vanished. I began the long trek to the pickup location. However, I didn't stop there. I kept hiking down the logging road to the mouth of the main dirt road that my buddy would drive down to meet me at the spot. It wouldn't get me out of here any sooner, but it would give me something to walk towards. Most of the hike, uneventful. I decided it was time for a break, so I sat down, rummaged my bag for some water and a protein bar, and took a sit. Then a branch popped behind me, and I scanned the area. The forest, thick this time of year, my view was limited. I finally saw something, a big patch of brush, but something was off with it. Man, this dude doesn't have anything right in his vision.
Right?
At the top of the large brush, there were antlers coming out. I took aim and shot. What is with this dude? What? I wasn't supposed to shoot it the first time. It follows me around, and then I'm like, I'm gonna shoot it again?
Well, now he's being stalked by it. So
I don't care. It's warning you. It's saying, guess what you shouldn't have done? And you said, I'm not learning my lesson.
I'll shoot you again.
I'm gonna shoot you up. Man, that's just... Alright. No movement from this thing at all. The tips of its antlers were still visible. And then the exposed point slowly lowered down and out of sight into the brush, and everything was quiet, still, and wrong. It's almost like it's a peeping Tom.
Right.
Like it saw him in the thing and was like, alright, you're the one I'm gonna follow. And so it's just been following him in the bushes with its little antlers, getting it going. That's why it said, oh, he must see me.
Right.
And dropped its antlers down a little bit. like a cartoon. He can't see me now.
He shot at me.
I grabbed my bag and ran as fast as the force would let me toward the direction of the logging road. Tearing through the woods between the snapping and the whipping of vines and... Tearing through the woods between the snapping and whipping of vines and branches, I heard something tailing me, but I didn't care.
Run for it.
I just kept running. I finally made it out of the woods, gathered my bearings, and started down the dirt path, hiking for a few minutes before a section of cleared forest came into view. It was an old logging site. Stumps jutting out of the ground like headstones in a tree graveyard. The clearing was just littered with tracks of trucks and tree branches of past harvest, a wide open area of mangled wood and debris. And I decided to set up camp here, thinking I could deal with it for one more night. No trees meant there were no cover for that thing from my shots. Morning would come and then my buddy would be there to get me.
What you think?
After I set up camp, I grabbed a stack of firewood, which was apparently super easy, and stood guard as the sun dipped below the horizon.
I was stuck by a figure in my eye.
I hope I got that on camera then. I did.
Probably did.
I did. Yay.
They're very itchy.
The hours passed slowly. The wind was restless, constantly threatening to put the fire out that I had made. I kept shifting my position to shield the fire with my body. The darkness was thicker than the night before, with no moon or stars, only clouds blanketing the sky and its light. It was a quiet night. Time dragged on with nothing happening, and then I saw it. A silhouette approaching my camp, and I couldn't make out details, but it looked like my buddy. I stood up to greet him, but froze mid-stride as the figure moved closer. The darkness around it melting away. It wasn't my buddy. It wasn't even a man. The legs were too skinny. The arms hung at a very weird angle, and it looked like long hair rose from its shoulders in writhing lines above its head. As it stepped into the light, I saw it clearly. Every horrifying detail. It was that deer, but not a deer. Not at all. It continued towards me, moved on its hind legs like a man. The arms, now drooping in front of its body, ended in claws instead of hooves. Its jaw hung loosely on its hinge, revealing rows upon rows of jagged, malformed teeth. Its antlers resembled tentacles. Its eyes had shifted to the center of its face, one on top of the other. I raised my gun to take a shot, and then something from the sky hit my hand, then my cheek. It ran down my face and my chin. The sky opened up, unleashing a downpour that put my fire out and plunged me into darkness. I fired my gun. I couldn't see. I couldn't hear anything over the ringing in my ears. I bent down to pick up my flashlight, and as I grabbed it, I felt fur brush against my outstretched arm. I swung my gun in that direction and pulled the trigger, and felt something warm and sticky splatter across my face. I dug my feet into the ground, picked a direction, and ran.
Same.
I ran until I hit even ground and continued down a dirt path until I slid in the mud. The flashlight bounced ahead of me, landing with its beam pointed back in the direction I had come. I rolled over onto my back, and I saw a tall, shadowy figure running from the path toward me. Scrambling to my feet, I left the light where it lay and let my instincts guide me. I didn't stop running until my footsteps slapped against the pavement. I made it all the way to the main road. The sun was beginning to rise over the trees. I walked along the side of the road until I heard a familiar voice call out. It was my buddy, hanging out the window of his truck with a look of concern and confusion. What the heck happened to you? He asked, hopping out of the driver's side. I paused and just stared at him, unsure of how to explain anything that had just happened. I finally just said the only thing that made sense. I shot a deer? Adding to this story is the legend of the not a deer. So the not a deer is
New.
Is new?
Mm-hmm.
New as in what? Like a new invention?
Sort of.
All right. The not a deer is a chilling cryptid from the Appalachian folklore. It captivated horror enthusiasts and folklorists since the early 2000s. At first glance, it resembles an ordinary white-tailed deer, but observers report... It's like I didn't know what that word was. Observers report unsettling differences. Creature moves unnatural. With unnatural, jerky movements.
Earthquake came back.
I know. That defy serving anatomy, which I'm guessing is what you call deers. Deers? Wow. Mountains hitting me hard. Now, its proportions are wrong. Limbs way too long, neck unnaturally bent, antlers asymmetrical. Witnesses describe glowing or human-like eyes that inspire dread, and some accounts claim that it can walk on its hind legs. Now, while skeptics dismiss it as a misidentification or urban legend, the not a deer has spawned artwork and even appearances in tabletop role-playing games. Also, it seems very much like the Wendigo.
Yeah.
The way that it's described, it sounds like a Wendigo. But I guess that's the end of that story compilation.
Is it?
It is. All right, ladies and gentlemen, look at that. We only had to stop it once so I could cough. Everything else went perfectly.
Yeah, except our earthquake.
Except our earthquake. So thank you guys for listening. Remember, when this comes out, actually, will be the week of our show at Wordplay. So come check out Wordplay here in Wardensville on the 18th, Saturday the 18th, for Ghosted in West Virginia's live show on The Conjuring. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, you have anything else? All right.
Nope.
Be sure to check out other fun things that are going on. And curl up your feet. All right. Salty Garlic has been free for a couple of days now. And she's not great at hunting. So you know what? If you take one of those foot things, you know what I'm talking about? One of those foot scrapers.
Yeah.
Just scrape some of that in a bowl, put it out. It's just like putting milk in a bowl for a fairy or something like that. She may take that and you don't have to curl your feet, but if you're not going to do that, you need to curl your feet. Bye. Look at little Franklin watching his puppy videos. But you don't have to watch puppy videos. You can watch Ghosted in West Virginia and join our channel. And if you think about it, you could also go over to Ghosted in West Virginia Facebook page and share and subscribe there as well. Of course, if you don't, you're a loser.